Okay, so Amy Coney Barrett has just been confirmed to the Supreme Court, and that is going to change the makeup of the court for a generation or probably longer. So what does this mean for the court and for the country? Right off the bat, the reason that the Republicans are moving so fast on this is because they need the Supreme Court for this upcoming election. The next Supreme Court session starts Monday, November 2nd. So there are 3 issues currently facing the court that they can take up if they so choose. And they are related to the mail-in ballot return dates for 3 separate states: Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. So the entire reason for this thing, and it has to go now, is because they need Amy Coney Barrett on the Supreme Court for these decisions. Last week, the Supreme Court ruled to let a lower court standing, to stay the standing of a lower court, which was that the mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania can be counted up until 3 days after the election. That was the lower court ruling. The Supreme Court voted 4-4 to let it stand. And if Amy Coney Barrett gets on the Supreme Court, she can be the 5th vote that the conservatives need to cut off mail-in ballots on the day of the election. What's going to be the outcome of that on the election? To be honest, I believe that the Supreme Court will vote in all 3 cases to cut off mail-in ballot acceptance dates on November 3rd. They will no longer allow ballots after the 3rd in all 3 states. This will be the Supreme Court kind of weighing itself in as the titan, the conservative titan that it's now become. I don't think that's going to change the race. For all of these 3 states, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Biden is up by at least 5% in all of these races. And the thing is that when you count the number of the ballots that come in after Election Day, you're looking at 1% of the vote, maybe 2. But when you look at early voting numbers exceeding all of 2016's early voting with a week still to go. In some places, early voting in 2020 has exceeded 2016 total. So people are showing up to vote. The number of ballots this year is expected to be way higher. So when you have that many ballots already in the system, there's not enough wiggle room for the Supreme Court to really have the effect that they did back in 2000. You're talking like 1% of the vote, maybe 2. I'd have to look up the exact amount that shows up like after, but typically that doesn't get reported. So we'll see. But in this instance, because of the effect of Donald Trump's attacks on early voting and mail-in voting, people have been showing up early and they've been mailing in their ballot early. And so as a result, I don't think the numbers are going to be there for the Supreme Court to whittle away at that advantage. Now, the side effect of this, there's these ballot cases, and because of the fact that the court is not going to have the chance to shape the election, I do think Joe Biden is still going to win. And after this election, there's going to be this issue of Joe Biden and Congress and the Supreme Court. And if Biden and the Democrats take the Senate and they keep the House, you're looking at a Supreme Court that is actively a conservative weapon versus a legislature and an executive office that have been elected by people by the majority of the people. So that's going to be a big deal. I think that this court is going to prove that the founding fathers were wrong about the Supreme Court. I think that a lot of people have been against the idea of packing the court because of the fact that the Supreme Court justices are supposed to be beyond politics. Lifetime appointments were supposed to remove people from this idea that they would be beholden to another political power. And I think this Supreme Court is going to prove to most people that the Founding Fathers were wrong. We'll see how that goes. But I do think that they're going to be, this backlash to what the court is going to be is going to be way stronger than people realized. You know, when it comes to things like Roe v. Wade, healthcare, Obamacare, Voting Rights Act, gay marriage, these are things that the court legislated. And the Senate and the House of Representatives, in all of their political ineptitude, have simply allowed the court to decide, and they've decided not to deal with it. And this court is going to prove why you can't do that, why you can't just let norms and traditions dictate how your government works. Because as soon as you get these bad faith actors, as soon as you get these people that show up and say, actually, I'm not going to play by your rules, but I'm going to call you out if you don't play by your rules. And all of a sudden, we're going to see this whole new approach to these norms and traditions, these things that we've just let slide. When judges just decide if they should recuse themselves from a case, when people are human beings, and sometimes a person has a real cut in it and they're not going to recuse themselves even though it's the right thing to do. We're not in a world where people will do the right thing because it's the right thing anymore. So I think that's going to change. I don't know if Biden will pack the court. I think he will fight every attempt at it. But I don't know if you can fix this problem without defanging the court as its own weapon. But, we'll see. That's the whole point of 3 branches of government, is that they are supposed to act as checks and balances to each other. Congress has failed to act as a check and a balance on the executive, and now we're seeing what happens with the conservative court when there's no checks or balances on the Supreme Court either. So we'll see. I think it'll be really interesting in the fact that John Roberts has spent his time as Chief Justice saying that he wanted to keep the court from becoming political, that he just wanted to call balls and strikes. And now with a 6-3 supermajority, a 5-4 majority if you count John Roberts as the voting in opposition, the court now has the power to overrule its own Chief Justice. So I think John Roberts may wind up going down as one of the worst Chief Justices in history, because his attempt at keeping the court from becoming political caused it to become the most political. So we'll see. Not incredibly stoked about how this is all going, but we'll see.